So what was I talking about matrices before? It's just because we're going to go in the intrinsics, and then we're going to extract all the transforms for the agents. And each transform will be a matrix. Start dropping down mockup biped 3. Going to hide this guy, and I'm going to drop down a geometry. And in here, I'm going to drop down an agent. And I'm going to point to this guy. So here's our agent. And now you just see the bones because I'm in wire mode, which is fine. So let's stay here. And now I'm going to drop down an attribute VOP. As you might remember from the first course, I was talking about that we have all these intrinsics that gives you a lot of power of what you can do with agents. One of the things we can do is to read and manipulate the rig for each agent. You can do this through either the agent local transforms or the agent world transforms. These are both arrays with a bunch of matrices that represent the position, orientation, and scale of each transform in the agent rig. So one way to get access to this is just to drop down an agent transform. There is also vex commands that do the same thing. And I'm going to take the prim num and the file name. I'm going to get the input 1 into the file name here, and the prim num into prim here. And then I'm going to, for space, I'm going to take world. So now, by doing that, I'm extracting this agent world transforms and put that into an array. So if I would do a bind export here, and just take a look at that, we have this array with matrices. So if I copy that, and I do a notepad, you have all these matrices here. That tells you the orientation and position of the different bones. That is cool. So let's see what can we do with this. So because it's an array, we can just loop through it. So if I'm using a for each, that will just loop through that array. I put the array in here, and I move this back a little bit. And just to prove that I get all this, I can use an extract transform. And this element out is the current iteration of the loop. So I'm going to connect that into this here. So by doing that, I can extract either the transform, rotation, scale, or shear. So let's take the transform and then add a point to each transform. By doing that, you see I have a point on each bone here. Perfect. Very cool. And if I would do agent edit and say let's take the left arm and rotate that a little bit, you see that the points are moving there because they are extracting the matrix. The thing that might be a bit confusing is that even if it's called world transform, it's not actually in global space, only in the world of the specific agent. And you can see this clearly if you put down a transform and rotate and transform the agent. The transforms aren't aware of where the agent is in the global space, only where they are in the agent space. So this means that we need to use another thing. So if we go into spreadsheet here again and look at intrinsics, we also have a packed full transform. And this packed full transform is a matrix that is expressing the position and rotation and scale of the agent. So if I would look at this guy here, now you see by default it's most ones and zeros, but if I would go and do the same thing here after I've oriented this guy, now suddenly you can see that this matrix has changed. So what I want to do is to parent the agent world transforms under the packed full transform. Luckily this is extremely easy to do with matrices. Let's get this matrix here. Prim intrins. So now I'm saying I want a primitive intrinsics because it's in the intrinsics. And I'm going to take the first port here, and I'm going to take the prim to the prim here. So now we have that matrix. The only thing you need to do with matrices to parent them is to multiply them together. And by the way, you can parent a vector under a matrix by multiplying them together as well. The order is important though, and the parent need to be last. So if I do a multiply here, like so, this needs to go in first because it matters which one is first and which one is at the bottom. So the one that you want to be the parent will be at the bottom. If I connect this to this now, oh, you see that this line here is not full. That is just because by default the prim intrinsics is set to matrix 3. So that's why we just get the orientation here and not the position. But we want to have it as a matrix 4. As you remember, when you have a matrix 4, you also have the position. So let's put it like that. And also another thing I forgot to do, I didn't tell it, I just said told intrinsic to take the transform, but we want to have the packed full transform. Like so. So now we have, you can see that all these guys are updated, and just really simple thing.